Who will be the busiest workers in China in 2026? The answer is robots. You might think I am talking about a science fiction movie. But if you still see it that way, you might be missing one of the biggest industrial transformations in human history. Let's start with a few numbers. In 2025, global humanoid robot shipments reached around 13,300 units, more than 4 times higher than the previous year. What about 2026? TrendForce predicts global shipments will surpass 50,000 units, representing a year-on-year increase of 700%. China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology is even more direct. It expects China's annual production of complete humanoid robots to exceed 100,000 units in 2026. 100,000 units. What does that really mean? In 2025, China's domestic shipments were only a little over 10,000 units. That means the market could multiply several times in just 1 year. And this isn't just about humanoid robots. From January to May 2026, China's large-scale robotics companies generated more than $12.4 billion in revenue, up 26.9% year over year. Over the past 5 years, the industry has maintained an average annual growth rate of more than 20%. Some institutions predict that China's spending on iRobots will exceed $11 billion in 2026. Now let's look at market share. And this is where things become even more obvious. According to an Omdia report, the top 6 companies in global humanoid robot shipments in 2025 were all Chinese companies. AGI Bot shipped more than 5,168 units, capturing 39% of the global market share. Unitree Robotics held 32%, while UBTECH accounted for 7%. Together, these 3 companies controlled nearly 80% of the global market. For every 10 humanoid robots sold worldwide, roughly 8 are made in China. This is not something that is still being tested inside laboratories. This is already an industry that is shipping products, generating revenue, and transforming factories and warehouses. The market is heating up, but capital is even hotter. From 2024 to 2025, funding for the humanoid robot sector surpassed $2 billion. But in the first half of 2026 alone, total funding in China's embodied intelligence sector exceeded $12.9 billion, 5 times higher than the same period in 2025. The number of financing deals reached 322, up 137% year over year. Funding rounds worth hundreds of millions of dollars are no longer considered big news. Galbot completed a $350 million Series A funding round, pushing its post. Money valuation above $2.7 billion. Astrobot raised $350 million within just 2 months and began large-scale delivery at the 1,000-unit level. Zhuoyuan Robotics completed a funding round of nearly $700 million. According to incomplete statistics, at least 22 embodied intelligence unicorn companies reached valuations of $10 billion or more in the first half of 2026. So what do these numbers actually mean? They mean capital is not betting on a concept. It is betting on something that is almost certain to happen. So just how big could this become? The most optimistic estimates suggest that the future humanoid robot industry could eventually reach a market size of up to $60 trillion. By around 2050, the industry could surpass $5 trillion with a cumulative deployment of 1 billion robots. Meaning there could be 1 humanoid robot for every 10 people on Earth. To put that into perspective, the global semiconductor industry was worth $791.7 billion in 2025. And the entire global automotive industry, including vehicles and components, totaled around $5.4 trillion. In other words, robots could become the largest technology industry in the world in the future, with no competitor even close. You might ask, if the whole world is building robots, why is China pulling ahead? The answer is actually not that mysterious. It comes down to 2 legs. One is industrial robots, and the other is humanoid robots. When many people hear the word robot, they immediately think of humanoid robots, machines that can walk, wave, and look futuristic. But humanoid robots did not appear out of nowhere. The components inside them, motors, reducers, controllers, sensors, all come from technologies that have been gradually upgraded from industrial robots. The more mature industrial robots become, the cheaper and more reliable their components get. And when developing humanoid robots, companies don't have to start from scratch. China has been moving forward on both legs at the same time. On one side, China is developing humanoid robots targeting the future market. On the other side, it is building industrial robots using the revenue from that business to support teams, accumulate technology, and then feed those advantages back into the evolution of humanoid robots. In 2025, Unitree's industrial robot orders increased by 220% year over year. Among them, quadruped robots used for inspections and security contributed 60% of the company's revenue. Now let's look at the United States. In 2024, 542,000 industrial robots were newly installed worldwide. China alone installed 295,000 of them, accounting for 54% of the global total. In the first half of 2026, China's industrial robot exports reached $868 million, growing 18.6%. These robots were shipped to 141 countries and regions around the world. The United States produces almost no industrial robots of its own. The robots used in American factories mainly come from Germany, China, and Japan. Why didn't they build more of them? Because industrial robots were seen as not profitable enough. Robotic arms often have gross margins below 10%, with limited room for a big story. American companies are better at telling big stories. Humanoid robots can be framed as a technology that will change the world, making it easier to attract investment. But here is the problem. Without a foundation in industrial robots, building humanoid robots means developing every component from scratch. And when that happens, the cost becomes almost impossible to bring down. Take Tesla's Optimus as an example. If it completely avoids China's supply chain, the material cost would exceed $130,000. But once it connects with Chinese suppliers, the cost can drop by nearly 70%. That is the difference. 2 days before the 2026 Chinese Lunar New Year, the United States added Unitree Robotics to its entity list. On the 26th of March, U.S. senators introduced the American Secure Robotics Technology Act, which sought to ban the federal government from purchasing Chinese-made humanoid robots and ground unmanned vehicles. In early June, a more aggressive proposal was introduced by figures including Representative Molinar, chairman of the House Select Committee on China. The proposal specifically named Unitree Robotics and called for a comprehensive national security review of Chinese humanoid and quadruped robots. Sounds pretty serious, right? But look at the numbers. From 2020 to 2024, the U.S. federal government had only 17 registered procurement contracts for Chinese robots, with a total value of $4.2 million. $4.2 million. Compared with the U.S. government's annual spending of several trillion dollars, that is not even a rounding error. So what do you call this? This is what you might call a preemptive blockade, trying to keep a competitor out before the problem becomes large enough to matter. But the real question is, can you actually stop it? A survey in the United States asked 8,000 licensed drone pilots about the impact of a DJI ban. More than 80% said that if DJI were truly banned, their businesses would collapse within 2 years. Robots follow the same logic. Governments can put restrictions at the border, but the market has its own calculations to make. After talking about the big picture, let's get practical. What are these robots actually doing? UBTECH's Walker series has already entered the factories of automakers, including BYD Geely, FAW, Volkswagen Audi, Dongfeng Luzhou Motor, and BAIC New Energy. In January 2026, European aircraft manufacturer Airbus signed an agreement to purchase Walker S2 robots and deploy them in aircraft manufacturing plants. Humanoid robots have officially entered the aerospace manufacturing industry, one of the sectors with the strictest requirements for precision and safety. So what can Walker S2 actually do? It can tighten aircraft screws with higher precision than humans. It can work continuously for 8 hours, then automatically go recharge itself, fully charge in 3 minutes, and return to work. In 2025, UBTECH's total humanoid robot orders exceeded $193 million. In the first half of 2026, it secured more than $138 million in new orders, including 3 individual orders worth around $13.8 million each. And there's another interesting development. UBTECH reached a strategic partnership with Honda Trading. Who is Honda? It is the company behind a SIMO. A SIMO was one of the world's most iconic humanoid robots in the late 1990s. You could almost call it the founding ancestor of this industry. And now, the industry's founding ancestor is turning around and bringing humanoid robot technology from Chinese companies. There is a saying, the West is good at making the PowerPoint presentations. China is good at turning those presentations into reality. The fundamental reason Chinese companies are moving so fast is not because one particular company is exceptionally powerful. It is because the entire supply chain is already there. Chinese companies account for roughly 63% of the global humanoid robot supply chain. And many of these companies are not just supplying robots. They are also major suppliers for industries like automobiles, batteries, drones, and defense. This is the power of an industrial cluster. The supply chain built for new energy vehicles is now rapidly shifting toward humanoid robots. So far, more than a dozen Chinese automakers have entered this field, including BYD, XPeng, Xiaomi, Chery, Chang'an, Li Auto, NIO, and GAC. How big is the cost advantage? According to the China Academy of Information and Communications Technology, the overall localization rate of key humanoid robot components in China has already exceeded 75%. A Morgan Stanley report estimates that the localization rate of China's humanoid robot supply chain has exceeded 90%. JP Morgan has done the math. If the Chinese supply chain is removed, related costs could increase threefold. Put it another way, the Chinese supply chain can bring those costs down to just 1/3. That is why any country or company involved in manufacturing still cannot completely avoid China. That is not my opinion. That is what the numbers say. What makes this even more difficult for the West is that this dependence will continue to deepen as mass production expands, and it may become impossible to reverse. Harmonic drive systems from Leader Drive hold 28.9% of the global market share. Meanwhile, key components like servo motors and controllers also account for roughly 60% of the global market. Some people say China could lose the chip war, and I think there is at least some logic behind that argument, because China is still catching up in semiconductors. But if someone says China will also lose the robotics race, then honestly, it becomes hard to define what winning would even look like. It is not just the supply chain that is moving here. The talent is moving here too. A key AI scientist from Apple moved to Tesla's Optimus team. A Chinese-American researcher who graduated from Tsinghua University with a bachelor's degree in 2016. In October 2025, Lu Zheyu, a former core engineer on Tesla's Optimus project, was recruited by Xiaomi's robotics division, UBTECH, offered compensation packages of up to $17.1 million to recruit a chief scientist in embodied intelligence, a hidden talent pipeline worth millions, even tens of millions of dollars, is operating between Silicon Valley, Pittsburgh, Beijing, and Shenzhen. China's real advantage is not just its supply chain, it is also its engineering talent advantage. The scale, concentration, and quality of China's engineering workforce are something that no other country can currently replicate. For the past 2 centuries, China has largely been a follower trying to catch up from the steam engine, electricity and the internal combustion engine, to computers, the internet and mobile internet. The fundamental breakthroughs behind every major technological wave happened in the West. China's role was that of a latecomer, a learner, an adapter, and a follower catching up. But embodied intelligence is different this time. This time, China is not chasing from behind. It started at the same time and may even be running ahead. From the 19th of August to 23rd, 2026, the World Robot Conference will be held in Yizhuang, Beijing. More than 300 companies will participate, showcasing over 2,000 exhibits, with more than 150 new products making their debut. The theme is human-machine coexistence, integrated production, and demand. This is not just an exhibition, it is the process of an entire industry moving from its early stage into explosive growth. Right now, you might feel that robots are still far away from your daily life. But a few years from now, when you look back, you may realize all of these changes were happening quietly, right when nobody was paying attention.